Hello again, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. On this 18th day now, December 2020, I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first here on the hazardous weather graphic, we've got some up on the Arctic coast. Start up there. We've got winter weather advisories there for the greater Prudhoe Bay area there on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, but not including Kaktovik and Barter Island, and then also for the western coast there, Wainwright, Point Lay, and I believe probably all the way down to Point Hope, Cape Lisburne. Actually, Cape Lisburne, Point Hope, I just noticed that dot's not correctly located there. It should be farther south. But anyway, that's out for tonight for gusty winds and blowing snow. Will blow snow around, reduce visibility to less than a half mile at times. And then the central interior there, the Koyukuk Valley with Bettles, and the upper Yukon Valley, Fort Yukon Valley, or the Yukon Flats with Fort Yukon there, as well as Beaver, Chalkyitsik, and other locations. That's a wind chill advisory. That's also out tonight until about 5 a.m., I believe, Saturday morning for wind chills as low as 55 degrees below zero. And then the red area there over the northern panhandle, whoops, let me back that up. And can't back it up. Anyway, that's a winter storm warning for heavy snow that's out for northern Lynn Canal, and that is out for tonight for 5 to 9 inches of snow, and that's northern Lynn Canal, Klondike Highway, Haines, on up to Skagway, and everywhere else in between, all locations in between. 5 to 9 inches of snow, winds gusting 45 miles an hour, and that'll create pretty low visibilities along the Klondike Highway. Otherwise, you can see system moving through the panhandle today, sliding in the one low center, or bulk of it actually moving into the south, although precipitation amounts over the last 12 hours weren't all that terribly heavy. And then a band of moisture extends up along the North Gulf Coast there in toward Prince William Sound. Cordova picked up about half an inch of precipitation during the day today in the last 12 hours, as did Hoonah over the northern panhandle there, while Juneau and Wrangell just had 0.08 of an inch of precipitation. So really not that big of a precipitation producer, that system coming in today, at least in the last 12 hours. And winds along the coast anywhere from 25 gusts 45 miles an hour, and pretty same thing along the North Gulf Coast, Middleton Island, the outer coastline areas. Otherwise, you can see the next system south of Kodiak Island there winding up and moving east-northeastward. That'll be the one coming in tomorrow. And otherwise, over the interior, variable clouds, areas of light snow, nothing really significant at all, except the Copper River Basin moisture slipped on up in toward the eastern and central areas, light snow falling throughout the day. And Gulkana picked about maybe 1 to 2 inches, possibly falling there, and could be heavier even over toward the Wrangell Mountains in the eastern areas. Otherwise, got an upper level low right over the Pribilofs, along with a surface low. That brought about 1/10 of an inch of liquid water content, mostly rain to the St. George, St. Paul area today. But break there over the Aleutians. If you notice on the satellite imagery, it looked like could be a fair amount of sunshine this afternoon there from the western Alaska Peninsula, Fox Islands, all the way out to Kiska and Amchitka. Otherwise, basically dry for Kodiak Island, that system down to the south, and then windy conditions up over the northwest part of the state and west central interior. Utopia Creek, Indian Mountain, peak wind gusts 52 miles per hour earlier today, and pretty breezy conditions up to the western Arctic coast, again supporting the winter weather advisory there. And for tonight, you can see that system moves northeastward in toward the extreme southern Gulf of Alaska, actually over the northeast Pacific. And that precipitation, as that approaches, will start to lessen and diminish, but won't end completely with that with the southwest flow turning southerly there along the southeast coast. Could end there along Prince of Wales Island coast, maybe as far north as Sitka. Could lose a precip later tonight. But look for the winter storm warning over the northern Lynn Canal area. Otherwise, a mixture of precipitation depending on your elevation and longitude over the remainder of the southeast coast. And weakening low pressure in the southeast Bering keeps a risk of some light snow along the coastal areas there from Bristol Bay up to Nunivak Island. Otherwise, whatever falls insignificant, stays basically dry. Just a risk of a shower or two in the form of rain or snow for the Fox Islands. For the Aleutians, wind's not too bad. The bulk of the jet stream energy to the south of the area stays windy up over the northwest part of the state, western Brooks Range, western Arctic coast. And a little breezy there on the eastern interior as well, with maybe some possible light moisture snow shower activity over the eastern Alaska Range. And then late tonight, snow moves into the northern Cook Inlet area, Anchorage, Palmer, and possibly the Susitna Valley. And late tonight and into about 1 p.m. tomorrow, could pick up a couple inches of snow in those areas. Definitely Prince William Sound mixture, though, for the North Gulf Coast. And that system rolling into the Panhandle brings gale force winds and a good shot of rain, moderate to possibly heavy at times, into the central and southern coastal areas there of the Panhandle, and a mixture of precipitation, but the southerly winds tending to lift those snowfall levels well above sea level. And so you'll lose the winter storm warning there for the Lynn Canal area. And still some lingering snow showers out over the Pribilof Islands and the southeast Bering Sea into northern Bristol Bay and mostly off the southwest coast. And some clearings for St. Lawrence Island, and still breezy along the northwest Arctic coast, but not quite as bad. And then fog, low clouds, maybe some flurries, central north slope, maybe the Arctic coast. Not too bad yet, still a lack of storminess over the Aleutians, but that'll change as the next system rolls in. Maybe some gale force winds with that ahead of that front, with a triple point low moving up to the central Aleutians Sunday afternoon with rain, and could be moderate rain moving into the Fox Islands. Kind of a break with some ridging ahead of that system there over the western interior. Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island could see some clearing. Low clouds, fog over the north central interior and the north slope up that way, and minimal clearing over the interior. Some areas could see some, but lingering snow showers, but diminishing for south central Alaska. That low hanging just south of the western Prince William Sound area. Look for clearing skies, Kodiak Island, and dry, not a bad afternoon. And rain and snow for the southeast coast, but nothing really heavy. Lows tonight down that way, mostly in the upper 20s for northern Lynn Canal to near 40 in the south, and 5 below to 15 above. Call it for southern Alaska, mild along the coastline, well below zero again north of the Alaska Range. Lows as cold as 45 below zero over the Yukon Flats, maybe toward Eagle and those areas. And then the highs tomorrow staying well below zero north of and west of the Alaska Range. The coldest areas up, of course, toward the Brooks Range and the North Slope. Lower 40s for the Panhandle, except up toward Haines and Skagway, lower 30s. And highs in the mid-30s, Kodiak Island, lower 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, and teens to lower 20s, southern Alaska. And then lows for Sunday morning, maybe a little milder, but still below zero, north and west of the Alaska Range, mid-30s for the Panhandle, and mid-20s there for the Alaska Peninsula and Pribilofs, and near freezing for the Aleutians. Highs, not much different, maybe a shade milder, but still in the teens for south central Alaska.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphics Saturday morning. IFR there, central North Slope and Arctic coast, and then VFR off over toward the far eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and then about Point Lay on down, interior, along all of the Yukon River there, VFR into the Susitna Valley, northern Cook Inlet, and the Kuskokwim, at least the northern part of the Kuskokwim Delta. IFR there, Nunivak Island to the Pribilofs, and northern Bristol Bay, Cape Newnham across Togiak Bay, Dillingham, into King Salmon. IFR, Fognak Island up into central southern Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, Gulf of Alaska, and up into the eastern Copper River Basin, southern and eastern Copper River Basin, and lower conditions there over the 40-mile country from about Eagle on down to the Alaska Range. IFR for the Panhandle, marginal for the Aleutians, except the Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula, VFR. And for Saturday afternoon, VFR changes to marginal VFR for the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and then VFR way out west there for Shimmy and Attu, and the Pribilofs possible VFR for Saturday afternoon. IFR, though, along the southwest coast, Bristol Bay, southern Kuskokwim Valley to Kamishak Bay, Iliamna, and Iliamna Lake, and the southern western Alaska Range. Northern Cook Inlet now, Madanuska, Susitna Valley, IFR, northern Kenai Peninsula into Prince William Sound, all IFR into the Copper River Basin. IFR from roughly Cape Yakataga, Cape St. Elias area, right on down the southeast coast. Interior there, it stays VFR along the Yukon River Valley area on out to the Delta, and even off the coast there, Norton Sound, VFR, most of the Seward Peninsula, VFR, and some lingering IFR there in the central North Slope. That expands on Sunday morning, becomes a little more extensive up there north of the Brooks Range, And then also some IFR up over the central and eastern interior, as well as southern Alaska there from the Copper River Basin, northern Cook Inlet, Madanuska-Susitna valleys, and the western Alaska Range. Some of that could spill into the Kuskokwim Valley, definitely into northeastern Bristol Bay, and then a band pushing in with the next front out there over the western Aleutian southwest Bering, making its way to Adak by morning. And marginal for the Panhandle, not much change from Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon for the southeast coast, but we have some IFR there for the North Gulf Coast, Yakutat into the Copper River Basin, marginal VFR, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, the valleys, right on up into the central interior. IFR there now along the Yukon River, right up across the Brooks Range, Kobuk-Koyukuk Valley, Selawik Valley, Yukon Flats, all IFR. IFR really expanding out over the central and southern Bering Sea and Aleutian areas as well. And for passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR with the lowest conditions, northern entrance, possibly IFR. Same trend forecast for Adigan as well, possible IFR, northern approach, otherwise marginal. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, mostly marginal VFR. Could be some possible chances for IFR, but at this point go marginal. And for Rainy, starting out VFR, and then during the morning hours becoming marginal VFR through the afternoon. And windy, trending toward marginal VFR, especially on the southern entrance. VFR out northern entrance into the valley. And Isabel, possible marginal VFR south side, tending to increase throughout the afternoon. And Metasta, same trend. Marginal VFR possible on the southern approach. And for Tanita, VFR becoming IFR, and that'll be early in the morning too. It could be IFR the entire day, but kind of a downward trend to start. Portage, marginal VFR to IFR, and Chilcoot and White, IFR. Looking at the freezing levels here at the surface, central Bering Sea just across the Pribilofs, across Kodiak Island, hugging the North Gulf Coast, but north of Lynn Canal and Glacier Bay, 2,000 feet along the central and south coast of the Panhandle. Icing heaviest will be in over the southeast coast with considerable moderate rime icing, possibly mixed, central and southern areas, and less still lighter potential there for the Alaska Peninsula, southwest interior, central Aleutians. Jet stream south of the area, well south of the area there, even the Aleutians, and cutting in even across the Queen Charlotte's 130 knots there, and about 45 over the northern Panhandle. Northeast 45, western Arctic coast, and about the same at 9,000 feet up there, 40 knot winds, east-northeasterly, north slope, Arctic coast. 60 knotters though into the southern Panhandle, northwest 40 for the Alaska Peninsula, 40 to 45 knots with that low there just east of the Pribilofs, and brisk winds there coming into Dixon Entrance. Turbulence, moderate chop for the Panhandle and up into the central interior, as well as along and south of the Alaska Peninsula. And light to isolated moderate chop for the central Aleutians.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
We can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the Hazardous Weather Test Bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis there from Bering Strait south along the southwest coast. Ice into Bristol Bay, not much change from yesterday, and northern Cook Inlet, a little bit of an increase, but really kind of a stationary status quo going on there. And ice almost reaching the east end there of St. Lawrence Island. So moving on to the coastal water forecasts, gale warnings tomorrow along the southeast coast and also over the inside waters in the south. 35-knot winds from the southwest, 18 to 20-foot seas there for much of the coast, and Clarence Strait, south 35 knots, seas 11 feet. Small craft advisory, Stevens Passage, southeast 25 gusts 40 knots, and lighter winds from Lynn Canal, north 15, 3-foot seas. And then the forecast for Sunday, small craft advisories for all of the outer coastline there. Westerlies 25 to 30 knots, and then the extreme north coast there, west-southwest 25 knots up to 16-foot seas. Southeast 20 for Lynn Canal, and south 15 Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait with 3-foot seas. Prince William Sound tomorrow, northeast winds 20 knots, seas 3 feet. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast, where winds will be west-southwest at 25 to 30 knots, strongest there in the western areas, with seas at about 11 feet. Small craft advisories also for the Barren Islands. Northwest winds could start out gale force there, possibly early in the morning or late tonight, and then drop down to about 30 knots and maybe even further in the afternoon. Seas at about 10 feet. Kamishak Bay and southern Cook Inlet, north-northwest 15, and northern Cook Inlet even lighter, northeast at 10 knots. North 10 knots for northern Cook Inlet on Sunday with 2-foot seas. West 20 south of the Forelands. Small craft advisories winds pick back up Kamishak Bay, west 30 knots, 8-foot seas, and gale warnings out for the Barren Islands and the western North Gulf Coast, where winds will be west at 35 knots, seas 13 feet, and west 30-knot winds there for the Middleton Island area, 15-foot seas. Light winds, slight seas for Prince William Sound, predominantly from the northwest. And for Kodiak Island, 15 knots for Chillicothe Strait, but small craft advisories east side of Kodiak Island, west 25, and Alaska Peninsula, Pacific side, west 25 to 30 knots with 30-knot winds from Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev. Seas will be 12 feet. Southwest 30 knots on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, 12-foot seas. Lighter, more easterly winds for Bristol Bay. They'll be east at 20. And then for Sunday, southwest 30 knots, 7-foot seas for Bristol Bay. And for the Alaska Peninsula, southeast 30 knots there on the Bering Sea side. South side, we've got gales. South 35 knots, seas building to 22 feet. And then from Castle Cape to Sitkinak, gale warnings. Southwest 35 for Sunday, seas 14 feet. Kodiak Island, west winds 30 knots, seas 7 to 13 feet. And for the Fox Islands, Unalaska Island, west-northwest, 25 to 30 knots, seas at 11 feet. Unmac Island, west 25 with 9 to 11 foot seas. Adak and Atka, westerlies, 25 knots, small craft advisories, and 9 to 12 foot seas. And from areas west of Adak, Kiska, all the way out to Shemya, west-southwest at 30 knots with 14 foot seas. And small craft advisories still for Shemya and Attu to Kiska Island, southerlies 30 knots. And then winds increase. Amchitka pick it up to about 40 knots out of the south, sustained 22-foot seas. Storm warnings for the central Aleutians as well as Unmac Island, edging in toward Nikolsky. 45 to 50 knot winds from the south-southeast, seas 12 to 24 feet. And on Alaska Island, south 40 to 45 knots, full gales, 16 to 25-foot seas. Southwest coast, small craft advisories along the Kuskokwim Delta coast, northeast 20 for the Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, same thing, northeast 20, north 20 St. Matthew Island. Small craft advisories for the Pribilofs, north winds 25 knots. For Sunday, north 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island and the Yukon Delta coast, northeast at 30. Gale warnings for St. Matthew Island, northeast 35, southeast 30 for the Pribilofs as well as the Yukon Delta coast. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, lightest winds will be there on the far eastern end, 10 to 15 out of the northeast, pick it up to 20 knots on the central coast, brisk wind advisories on the west side, and then gale warnings from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, northeast 40 knots. Back to brisk wind advisories from Cape Thompson to Wales out of the northeast at 30. Gales continue there from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort out of the northeast at 35 knots. And then winds diminish as you head east on the coastline down to 15. For tonight, precipitation continues but begins to let up along the southeast coast as the next system approaches and rolls up with more rain and wind Saturday, and then that moves through and it's pretty dry over the interior. Thank you for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.